everyone, welcome back to my Bible journey. Today, we will explore one of the most dynamic chapters in the ministry of Jesus Christ, Matthew chapter 22. In this chapter, Jesus tells a powerful parable about a royal wedding, answers strictly political and theological questions, and finally reveals the greatest commandment in the entire law. Let us walk through this chapter in three key moments. Part 1. The parable of the wedding banquet. Jesus begins with a striking story. He says, the kingdom of heaven is like a king preparing a wedding banquet for his son. Everything is ready. The feast is prepared. The invitations have been sent. But surprisingly, the invited guests refused to come. Some ignored the invitation and go back to their farms and businesses. Others even mistreat the king's messengers. So, the king does something unexpected. He sends his servants into the streets and invites everyone they can find, both good and bad. Soon, the wedding hall is filled with guests. But then the king notices one man who is not wearing wedding clothes. In those days, wearing proper garments are a sign of respect and readiness for the celebration. Because the man refused to prepare himself, he is removed from the banquet. Jesus ends with a powerful statement. Many are called, but few are chosen. The lesson is clear. God's invitation to his kingdom is wide and generous, but accepting that invitation requires a sincere response. Part 2. Traps and questions for Jesus. After this parable, the religious leaders attempt to trap Jesus with difficult questions. First, they ask about paying taxes to the Roman emperor. It was a dangerous political question, but Jesus asks for a coin and replies, "Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." With this answer, Jesus avoids the trap and reminds them that while governments may claim taxes, God deserves our ultimate devotion. Next, another group asks a complicated question about resurrection, trying to turn eternal life into a logical puzzle about marriage. Jesus responds that they misunderstand both Scripture and the power of God. In the resurrection, life will be transformed. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. The crowd is amazed at his wisdom. Part 3. The greatest commandment. Finally, a legal expert asks Jesus an important question. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Among hundreds of commandments, which one matters most? Jesus answers clearly. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Then he ends a second commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus concludes with a remarkable statement. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. In other words, the entire message of Scripture can be summarized in love for God and love for people. Part 4. The question about the Messiah. After answering all their questions, Jesus turns the conversation around. He asks the Pharisees a question. What do you think about the Messiah? Whose son is he? They quickly reply, the son of David. That answer was the common belief. The Messiah was expected to come from the royal line of David. But Jesus then quotes Psalm 110 and asks a deep question. If David calls him Lord, how can he be his son? In ancient Jewish culture, a father would never call his descendant Lord, yet David himself refers to the Messiah this way. Jesus is revealing something profound. The Messiah is not only David's descendant, he is also David's Lord. Last part, conclusion. Matthew chapter 22 reveals three essential truths. God invites us into his kingdom. God calls us to give him what truly belongs to him. And God asks us to live lives defined by love. Matthew chapter 22 is coming to the end. Thank you for your time with me. If you like, please share and subscribe. See you Matthew chapter 23.